Hi, thank you for signing up to volunteer with Kalamazoo Pride 2014. Welcome to the online training, where we're going to briefly go over each of the responsibilities involved in order for us to have a successful event. My name is Meg Bauer, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator at the Kalamazoo Gay Lesbian Resource Center. The KGLRC is the entity that puts on Kalamazoo Pride every year, and all of the proceeds go directly toward our programming so that we can better serve you and we can better serve the community here in Southwest Michigan. Let's start with the empowerment structure. We at the KGLRC believe in empowering all of our volunteers because we know that you are smart, capable individuals. So, when you encounter a problem at your station, we're empowering you to think about what you think is the best course of action. That said, if you are unable to make a decision, or you do not feel you have the authority to make a decision like that, we are empowering you to work with your Pride captain. These are volunteers that have dedicated their entire days to making sure this event runs smoothly. Great. Now that we know the empowerment structure, let's talk about what you'll be doing.
Let's start with setup. Setup and cleanup are very straightforward tasks. When you arrive, even if you are working setup, please check in. There you will be assigned to a task and a team. Now let's talk about entrance. The captains for entrance are in charge of entrance and demographics, and your captain will guide you to your correct position. The things that we need to know at entrance are that we will be collecting tickets, we will be selling tickets, we will be handing out tickets to those folks who have paid for them ahead of time, and we'll be distributing Pride guides. Some key things to remember. $7 to get in at the door on Friday, $7 to get in at the door on Saturday. However, some people have purchased 2-day passes. Those passes will be ripped off and entered into our hourly drawing, so we need to make sure we hold on to them. Finally, about entrance. You are the first people that our guests will see when they arrive at the Arcadia Creek Festival site, so it's important to make sure that we are as proud and excited as we can be, because if you're having a good time, they're going to have a good time. If they have a good time, we have a successful event, right? Now let's talk about demographics. Demographics is one of my favorite areas because it helps us know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. It is important that we talk to as many guests as possible. We want them to fill out our anonymous demographics form completely, or as completely as they are willing to. Go where your Pride captain disperses you to. They're going to direct you to the best area to collect as many forms as possible. Also, one way to make sure that our guests have a good time is that we are going to give them stickers once they complete the demographic form. If you see someone with a sticker, that means that they have already filled out the form, and we don't need to bother them. So, if you're working demographics, make sure you do what you can to get as many as you can, while still making sure our guests are having a good time. Now let's talk about merchandise. We sell awesome swag for us to show our Kalamazoo Pride all over town all year round. It's important to keep track of what we're selling, whether it's the size of the items we're selling or what items we are selling and how we sell them. So one of your jobs while working merchandise will be to keep an inventory of everything you sell. You'll have a form to help you out, and if you have questions, your Pride captain will show you how. Note, many of you will be working with cash boxes or square readers, whether you're working merchandise, entrance, beer ticket sales, or some of our other special tasks. If at any point in time you are working with cash, it is important to make sure that you guard that cash, protect it. It's also important that we ring up every transaction that we're making, whether it's on a paper tally sheet or it's using the square our electronic devices. If you're apprehensive about using electronics, just show up for your shift a little bit early and the person before you will show you how to use them. Some of you may be working beer ticket sales. This is another very important station that we have in order for Kalamazoo Pride to succeed. In order for people to purchase their wonderful beverages, they need to buy tickets in order to pay for those beverages, and some of you will be in charge of selling those tickets. Some things we need to make sure while selling tickets so that we keep track of the tickets that we're selling. Again, just like with merchandise, you'll have a tally sheet to help guide the way. If at any point in time you have trouble filling it out, talk to your captains. Your captain is the merchandise beer tickets captain. So if your captain is not right over your shoulder, he or she is probably over at the merchandise table.
While we're talking about beer tickets, I'd like to take this opportunity to again remind everyone that Kalamazoo Pride is a fundraiser for the Kalamazoo Gay Lesbian Resource Center. It's actually a win-win, right? We get to go have a good time and celebrate our pride while also raising money for a good cause. So it's important that we as a team help keep everyone honest, right? So if you see someone who is not tracking their tickets accurately, if you know what I mean, do us a favor and help keep them honest, right?
All right, let's talk about alcohol pouring now. At Pride, we will be pouring both beer and wine. Now, I need your help with something. If you're pouring wine, make sure you are very vocal about where the wine pouring line is, okay? Great, thanks. Now, some things to remember. You have to be 21 or over to pour beer. You also, of course, have to be 21 or over to drink beer or wine, right? So, if you're working the station, make sure that the people you're serving beer to have wristbands on. A wristband on means someone is over 21, okay? Great. Okay, so here's something new this year. We have something called the VIP line. If you see somebody who is standing at the VIP line, make sure that you and your team figure out a way to ensure that they get served quickly. Finally, if you're working the beer tent, you have the right to identify someone who is over-intoxicated. So just like a bar has the right to cut someone off, we too have the right to cut someone off. The key questions to ask yourself are, is this person a threat to themselves? Is this person a threat to others? Is this person a threat, a danger to property? If you can answer yes to any of those questions, you need to find your Pride captain and tell them about it.
Okay, one last thing about beer pouring. Do you remember how we talked about working together to keep each other honest when we talked about beer tickets? Well, the same thing goes with beer pouring, right? That beer actually costs the Resource Center money, so even though it might look like just a free beer if we give it to someone, we're actually taking money from the Resource Center because we had to pay for that beer, right? So if you see someone who is maybe trying to flex the rules a little bit, remind them that this is a fundraiser and help keep them honest, right? And of course, if you see a repeat offender, feel free to tell your Pride captain. Thank you. We need teamwork like that to make sure that this event succeeds.
First aid, volunteer check-in, and grounds. Those are all located in the same area and they all have the same captains. If at some point you encounter a first aid need, either yourself or someone else experiencing the fun of Kalamazoo Pride, make sure you immediately escort them to first aid, even if it seems like something simple. Also, new this year, first aid is where you will check in if you are volunteering. Well, when should you check in, you might ask yourself. You should check in 15 minutes prior to your shift. We don't need you to check in too early, and of course we would really prefer you not check in too late either, right? So make sure you check in 15 minutes before your shift so that you can be dispatched and transition from the people that you're taking over for. It is at that time that you will receive your Kalamazoo Pride 2014 volunteer t-shirt. Now let's talk about when to wear those t-shirts and when not to wear those t-shirts, okay? And in case you're wondering, they're going to be orange this year. Your captains will be in blue. So, you should wear your volunteer t-shirt when you're volunteering, right? But do yourself a favor, and do us a favor, and don't wear your Kalamazoo volunteer t-shirt when you're not volunteering. That'll stop people from coming up to you while you're not actually volunteering. Also, just like I am a representative of the Kalamazoo Gay Lesbian Resource Center, when you're volunteering for us, you're an ambassador to the public. You're a representative of Kalamazoo Pride. So everything you do in your t-shirt will be reflected upon the organization and the cause. So it's okay to have a good time, and we hope you have a good time the whole time, especially while you're volunteering. But make sure you take your volunteer t-shirt off while you're not volunteering for Kalamazoo Pride. Now, I have a philosophical question for you. To drink or not to drink? That is the question. Is it not? Many of us, myself included, occasionally like to enjoy a drink or two while we're at Kalamazoo Pride. But it's important that we save that for before or after our volunteer shifts. And unfortunately, just like we talked about with Beer Tent, if someone shows up to their volunteer shift intoxicated, we do have the right to ask you to not volunteer. Finally, we ask for your flexibility. There's a lot of volunteers and a lot of things that need to be done in order to make Kalamazoo Pride 2014 happen successfully. So, if we ask you to move somewhere, and you're able to, please do. That said, if for some reason you're uncomfortable or unable to do something we have asked you, just give us a gentle reminder, okay? Great, thank you.
The last thing I want to say is thank you. Kalamazoo Pride is almost entirely volunteer run, so without folks like you dedicating a portion of your valuable time to helping make this event succeed, we wouldn't have an event. So thank you. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for volunteering for Kalamazoo Pride 2014.